this year has been very boring and very dull. And to make matters worse, we didn't get an E3 this year. Well, fuck. How am I supposed to make my one video this year? What the fuck? I guess I could try to make my own. For the first big event, I think we should talk about the PlayStation 5 reveal, where the design of the console is just fucking stupid. Many people pointed out it looks like a fucking Wi-Fi router. It does. When you look at the Xbox Series X design, yeah, it looks like a fridge, but at least it looks like a console, something that you could put next to your TV. This just looks like it belongs under a desk because of how fucking odd it looks. Not to mention, when Sony started their reveal event for the PlayStation 5, one of the first games they showed was fucking Grand Theft Auto 5, a game that's been out for 5 years and pretty much 2 console generations. We got some decent games out of the PlayStation 5 reveal event, like a new Ratchet & Clank and a little Big Planet game, which that doesn't seem like a game that's gonna show off how spectacular your effects look like. Games that look cartoonish, you can't really more polished and realistic. They should have showed maybe like another Uncharted or, you know, like a Killzone or something. But next they showed Ghostwire Tokyo, which honestly looked pretty cool. I still can't tell what the fuck it's going to be. From the trailer we got, it just looks like battling ghosts. So hopefully we get something interesting out of that. And there's also Deathloop. I can see Deathloop being a pretty fun game, and hopefully, you know, it'll be out with the launch of the PS5, but other than that, it's like pretty uneventful for a console reveal. That's when you want to show the games that are going to come out with your console, just like what Xbox did when they announced the Xbox Series X and showed a teaser for Halo Infinite, which they showed last year. But this year, we got some gameplay, and it looks pretty good. It looks like a game that's going to utilize the console it's going to be on, and it might be like a killer app that Xbox is going to need coming into the launch of the Xbox Series X. And then we got Psychonauts 2, which is apparently still happening. I don't know. That game has been in development for like 6 years, and it's always been one of those games that's just been on Kickstarter or whatever, and then it just quietly gets released. But no, the gameplay looks pretty fun. And then we got another Stalker game, which is titled Stalker 2, even though I think it's Stalker 4. It's the first game in 11 years since its last game. And I feel like it gives me an incentive to check out the earlier games in the Stalker series, so fuck it, I'm gonna do that as well. Why not? But going on, these 2 presentations showing what's going to be on the next generation of consoles to come is kind of disappointing, because not a lot of killer apps for either console. I mean, yes, there is, for PlayStation, Ratchet & Clank and Little Big Planet, but that's not really a console killer. It's just another game in that series that just makes it look a little bit more polished. But Xbox does have one game that's supposed to show off all of the good that the console is going to do, and all of the hardware fidelity that they're putting into the Xbox Series X. To be fair, that's kind of how it was with PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 launch, and the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One launch, where they had both similar-ish issues at launch with a limited library. But maybe in further presentations we can see games that'll show off both consoles equally well. Which brings me to the Ubisoft Forward. Had 2 pretty big games that they showed off gameplay to. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which they did announce earlier, but they did go into more detail and show gameplay of how it's going to work, which the game looks really good. And Far Cry 6, which they did not show any gameplay to. They did show a good teaser, which might be indicative of what the story is going to be about for the next Far Cry game, which, as someone who's not a big fan of either of these games and has only briefly played a few entries of these games, it did make me want to buy these games. But other than that, Ubisoft did not really show anything else. But on top of that, we got a handful of Nintendo Directs. We didn't really see a lot because they're just Directs compared to their, you know, like E3 stuff is just like smaller bits of information and maybe like 1 or 2 major titles, if anything is announced, or maybe just 1 or 2 DLC characters. And we got a Pokemon MOBA, which fuck, that's gonna be awful. But we did get Pokemon Snap 2. That shit is gonna bring back so many fucking good memories. Honestly, that's probably one game I'm looking forward to most that was announced during this, you know, E3 season, as it were. And then, yeah, and Devolver Digital had another show this year. Yeah, it was another Devolver Digital show, but we did see some really cool games. And we saw the new Shadow Warriors game, which looks really fucking cool, even though it's teetering on the edge, looking more like another FPS like Doom. We got Carrion and Kleja, or whatever the fuck, how do you pronounce that? I don't know. You know, God, I guess I have to talk about it, you know? Alright, well, I watched the PC Game Show as well. And wait, what the fuck? What? What the fuck? Yes. Persona 4 on PC. Guess I don't need this fucking paperweight anymore. Guess you know what I'm gonna be doing for the next year. Yeah, and speaking of Shin Megami Tensei, they showed a new trailer for SMT5 and also a remaster of Nocturne, so hopefully those fucking Shin Megami Tensei fans will shut the fuck up for once in their life and stop bitching about games not coming out. Nerds! I feel like I'm missing something. No, besides the PC Games Show, which was a complete snooze fest, and, you know, a PC Games Show where the humor is fucking awful, and there's like okay looking games, but it's just bogged down by a very cringy presentation. I feel like I'm forgetting a major console that released this year. I can't put my finger on it. It was made by a major tech company, but nobody talked about it. And nobody cared, because it was a fucking subscription service. Oh, it was Google Stadia.